I sink into my beloved leather armchair, kicking off my work boots and stretching my toes. The restoration of the Buchanan house has consumed every moment of my day, dealing with rotted floorboards, crumbling plaster, and a century-old staircase that seemed to resist me at every turn with its splintered edges. My muscles ache in that gratifying way that only follows a job well done. My phone buzzes on the coffee table, but I initially ignore it, opting instead for the glass of Cabernet I poured just 10 minutes prior. The rich burgundy liquid captures the last golden rays of the sunset filtering through my Craftsman windows. The phone vibrates again, insistently. After taking a long sip, I finally reach for it, scrolling through the notifications with my thumb. Another day, another barrage of emails from contractors and clients. Then I see it. My thumb halts mid-scroll. A photo of my sister Nyla, elegantly draped in white, her face radiant beneath a delicate veil. The caption reads, "Final fitting for the big day, Nyla and Travis forever after." My breath catches in my throat. What wedding? I swipe through my feed in a frenzy. Photos flood my screen. My cousin Marissa showcasing bridesmaid dresses, my Aunt Rosa arranging flower samples, my mother's hands holding embossed invitation designs, an invitation I never received. I click on the latest image, and comments cascade beneath it. "Can't wait to celebrate with you next month. The venue looks stunning. So blessed to be part of your special day." 57 comments, filled with names of relatives, friends, distant cousins I haven't seen since high school graduation. Everyone's going. Everyone but me. Suddenly, my phone rings, jolting me. My mother's name lights up the screen. Cynthia Alvarez. Perfect timing. I answer, pressing the phone to my ear. "Mom, Deborah, honey, I was just thinking about you. How's work?" My free hand curls into a fist. Work is fine. I just saw Nyla's wedding dress on Instagram. The silence stretches for 3 heartbeats. "Oh," she clears her throat. "I was going to call you about that." My knuckles turn white around the phone. My own sister's wedding? Was my invitation lost in the shuffle? "Deborah," her tone shifts, that familiar note of disapproval creeping in. "Don't make this about you. You know how sensitive Nyla is." "Sensitive? What does that have to do with it? You're always so busy with your career. Nyla felt you wouldn't make time anyway." The room suddenly feels colder. I stand, moving toward the window where the Denver skyline sparkles in the distance. "So you all just decided not to invite me to my sister's wedding? Travis thinks family is important," she says, as if that clarifies everything. "And I'm not family?" The words scrape against my throat. "Of course you are, but you know how things have been. After you criticized her cafe, I co-signed her loan. $22,000 that I paid back after she abandoned the business. She had the children to think about." My mother's voice hardens. "Single motherhood isn't easy, Deborah." I press my forehead against the cool glass of the window, old memories surfacing. Nyla at 10, breaking Grandma's vase, while I took the blame. Nyla at 17, sneaking out, and I covered for her. Me at 16, announcing my engineering scholarship, only to be met with my mother's dismissive tone. "Of course you got it. You're the responsible one. Always the responsible one." I haven't been forgotten. "Mom," I whisper, "I've been erased." "Now you're being dramatic." She sighs, the sound of a woman burdened by an unreasonable child. "We can talk about this later. I need to go help Nyla with the seating charts." The call ends. I stare at my phone, watching as new wedding posts flood my feed. Nyla twirls in her dress while Travis and his groomsmen sample cakes. My parents beam beside the happy couple, a family portrait that excludes me. My phone buzzes with texts from Jenna. "Did you see? Call me." Then there's Marcus from work. "Just saw your sister's wedding stuff. What the hell?" And Mrs. Henderson next door, "Dear, are you aware of what's happening with your family?" Even those on the fringes of my life have noticed my absence. I sink back into my chair, the weight of 35 years pressing heavily upon me. I've dedicated my career to restoring historical treasures, reviving beauty in forgotten places. Yet I can't seem to restore my place within this family. The realization washes over me like a cold wave. All these years, I've been the fixer, the responsible one, the steady hand. I've co-signed loans, babysat on demand, and listened to midnight breakdowns. I've shown up when no one else would, and this is my reward: erasure. My phone buzzes again. I silence it without a glance, setting it face down on the table. From my window, I gaze at the mountains west of Denver, their peaks glowing in burnished copper under the fading light. Beyond them lies Boulder, where my parents still reside in the Victorian house of my childhood, where Nyla returned with her 2 children after Eric left her, where they're planning a wedding without me. Something shifts within my chest, not the fiery anger or the sharp sting of hurt, but something cooler, more deliberate, a quiet certainty. This time, I whisper to the empty room, "I won't fix what they've broken." I pick up my phone and open Instagram once more. With methodical precision, I unfollow my sister, then my mother, my father, and my cousins. Each tap of my finger feels like the release of a burden I've carried for far too long. This isn't an act of revenge. It's a decision, a boundary. As the last golden rays of light fade from my windows, my living room is enveloped in shadow. I don't reach for the lamps. Instead, I remain seated in the encroaching darkness, feeling lighter than I have in years. For the first time in my life, I'm not rushing to piece together my family's broken fragments. The silence that follows feels like liberation. My tires crunch over the gravel driveway of my parents' Victorian home in Boulder. The morning sun glints off the stained glass above the front door, casting shards of ruby and amber across the porch. The house stands tall against the mountain backdrop, its gingerbread trim and sweeping eaves as familiar as my own reflection. I grip the steering wheel, my knuckles turning a ghostly white. It's been 3 days since I discovered Nyla's wedding plans. 3 days of ignored calls from everyone except Mom, whose voicemails grow increasingly dramatic. Dad's hunched figure emerges in the garage doorway, Hector Alvarez, forever retreating behind his projects. Today, it's his 1967 Mustang, the one he's been restoring since my high school days. He straightens when he notices my car, wiping grease from his hands onto a rag that has seen better days. His eyes flicker toward the house and then back to me. I kill the engine and step out into the warmth of June. "Dad? Debbie," he nods, retreating deeper into the garage. "Your mother's inside." Of course she is. And of course he won't stand beside her for this conversation. Some things never change. The screen door creaks as I enter. The house smells of cinnamon and coffee, Mom's version of emotional armor. She appears in the kitchen doorway, her face carefully arranged in a mask of concern. "Deborah, I was just about to call you." Cynthia Alvarez, the queen of convenient timing. "I made your favorite coffee cake. Would you like some coffee?" I don't want coffee. I remain standing in the entryway, my hands shoved deep into my pockets. I need to know why I wasn't invited to Nyla's wedding. Mom's smile falters for a moment before it quickly reforms. "Oh, honey, it's complicated. You've been so busy with your career." "Don't," I interrupt, the word slicing through her excuse. "That's not a reason." She busies herself with the coffee pot, buying herself seconds. "Nyla was afraid you might not approve of Travis. You can be intimidating." Intimidating? Because I dared to ask questions when she introduced him after only 3 weeks of dating? "He thinks family is important, Deborah." She sets 2 mugs on the counter, her hands trembling. "And you've always been so independent." The garage door creaks open. Dad shuffles in, his eyes glued to the hardwood floor. "Don't make things harder than they already are," he mutters. Harder for whom? I want to ask, the question rising in my chest. For Nyla? For Travis? For you two? The ones who've always made excuses for her. Mom's eyes well with practiced tears. That's not fair. Fair? The word explodes from me. Was it fair when I co-signed that business loan for her cafe? $22,000, Mom. That's what I paid back after she abandoned it 9 months later. She had the children to think about, Dad interjects, finally meeting my gaze. Eric left 4 years ago. The cafe fiasco was last year. I step closer to them both. I've been making those payments while she posts vacation photos from Sedona. Single motherhood isn't easy, Mom whispers, and Travis is her second chance. He has a good job in pharmaceutical sales, Dad's voice strengthens, offering this familiar defense. He can provide stability, Dad insists. So she found her meal ticket, and now I'm the one who's embarrassing. The pieces fall into a sickening alignment. Did Travis say he doesn't want me there? Their silence confirms it. He thinks I don't care about my family. I let out a laugh, the sound harsh against the warm, homey kitchen backdrop. That's rich coming from a man who's known her for, 7 months? Please understand. Mom reaches for my arm, desperation in her eyes. This wedding means everything to her. After the cafe, after Eric abandoned her with the children, Emma and Lucas deserve stability, Dad adds, wielding them as shields. 8-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Lucas are wheeled out as justification for every poor decision Nyla makes. And what about me? I wonder quietly. What do I deserve after paying her debts? After babysitting every weekend while she went out on dates? After listening to her cry about Eric at 2 in the morning for months? You're stronger, Mom says, as if it's a compliment. You've always been the responsible one. Responsible? Always the family ATM, the free therapist, the emergency babysitter, but never the sister worth including. I turn toward the door, suddenly weary. The weight of their expectations and manipulations feels heavier than the timber beams I installed in the Buchanan house just yesterday. Deborah, please. Mom follows me. We're family. Family? I pause at the door. Is that really what we are? Dad steps forward. Where are you going? Away from here, I say simply. If Nyla wants a perfect wedding, she can have it without me. I leave them standing in the doorway, their faces painted with confusion, as if they can't comprehend that this time I won't absorb the blow. 20 minutes later, I slide into a booth at Copper Kettle, the coffee shop where Jenna works. She spots me immediately and brings over a latte without asking, sliding into the seat opposite me. That bad, huh? Jenna's known me since college. She can see the aftermath of a family confrontation etched on my face. Worse. I wrap my hands around the warm mug, seeking comfort. Travis doesn't think I care about family. That's why I wasn't invited. Travis? She snorts. The guy who's known your sister for 5 minutes thinks he gets to decide who cares about family? Apparently. Jenna glances around before pulling out her phone. Speaking of Travis, she slides it across the table. Kelly took these last night at the downtown lounge. The photos reveal Travis with his arm wrapped around a blonde woman who is definitely not my sister. They're laughing, their heads close together. In the last image, his lips press against her neck. My stomach tightens, not from surprise, but from a bitter confirmation. When was this taken? Last night around 11. I push the phone back toward her. And what am I supposed to do with this information? Jenna blinks, her expression serious. Tell your sister, tell your parents, stop the wedding before she marries a cheater. The old me would have done exactly that, would have rushed to protect Nyla from herself, would have absorbed her inevitable rage when she shot the messenger. No, the word feels foreign, yet right. I'm not doing that. This time, I'll let the truth expose itself. I sip my cooling latte. I'm not invited to the wedding. Remember, it's not my place to interfere. Jenna studies me across the table. This isn't you. Maybe it should be. The realization settles in my chest, not with guilt, but with certainty. I've spent my life fixing Nyla's messes. Look where that's gotten me. Excluded from her wedding, Jenna concedes. Exactly. I straighten my shoulders. So, let Travis be Travis. Let Nyla make her choices. I'm done being the family safety net. If she decides to marry him, then so be it. The words should sting more than they do. I can't rescue someone who doesn't want to be saved. For the first time in my life, I don't rush to prevent a disaster that's barreling toward my family. The discomfort of inaction settles heavily in my stomach, yet beneath that weight flows a current of something unfamiliar, relief. I pour myself a glass of Cabernet and settle into my window seat, the Denver skyline glittering against the night. My phone lies face down on the coffee table, deliberately silent. 3 weeks have passed since I discovered my exclusion from Nyla's wedding, and today is the big day at the Ridgewood estate. The Ridgewood. Even the name drips with old money and exclusivity. According to Jenna's intel, Mom spent weeks arranging white roses and gold accents throughout the historic mansion. 150 guests, local press covering the union of Travis Reed, a prominent engineer, and my sister, the perpetual damsel. I take a slow sip of wine, savoring its complexity. For the 10th time today, I resist the urge to check social media. What good would it do? Instead, I reach for my dog-eared copy of Restoration Ethics in Historical Architecture. Work always centers me. But my phone buzzes, rattling against the wood, then again, and again. The persistent rhythm sets my teeth on edge. I set my book aside and pick up the phone. 27 notifications, all in the last 4 minutes. My thumb hovers over the screen. Part of me wants to shut it off completely, to finish my wine in peace. But an old instinct, the responsible one, makes me swipe. A video fills my screen. Shaky footage from Ridgewood's grand ballroom fills the screen. White roses are everywhere, just as Jenna described. Guests in informal wear cluster against the walls, and in the center of it all stand Nyla and Travis. My sister's mascara streaks down her face, her perfect white dress gripped tightly in her fists as she screams something unintelligible. Travis towers over her, his tuxedo jacket unbuttoned, his tie askew. His face contorts with rage. "You knew I was seeing someone," he shouts, his voice cracking through my phone speaker. Nyla lunges forward, pushing against his chest. "Everyone knew. You weren't exactly discreet." Then it happens. Travis's arm swings out, his open palm connecting with my sister's cheek. The crack echoes through the ballroom, and gasps erupt from the crowd. The camera shakes violently as the person filming. "Oh my God," I whisper, my fingers pressed against my lips. The video abruptly cuts off. I frantically scroll through messages, piecing together the aftermath. Jenna texts, "Deborah, are you seeing this?" Marcus messages, "Holy, just saw the Reed Alvarez disaster on Instagram." Mrs. Henderson next door chimes in, "Dear, your family is on the news, Channel 9. I switch to the local news app, and there it is, already breaking. Society wedding ends in assault charges. The footage plays again, this time from a different angle. I catch glimpses of my mother's horrified face in the background, my father attempting to rush forward before being restrained by 2 other men. The anchor's voice cuts in. Police were called to the prestigious Ridgewood estate this evening after the groom, Travis Reed, allegedly assaulted bride Nyla Alvarez during what witnesses describe as a heated argument about infidelity allegations." I snap the phone off, tossing it onto the cushion beside me. My pulse hammers in my throat. Part of me, a part I'm not proud of, feels a sick sense of vindication, but it's quickly swallowed by genuine concern for Nyla. No matter our differences, watching my sister be struck on what should have been the happiest day of her life twists my stomach into knots. I drain my wine glass, refill it, and brace myself for what I know will come next. The phone rings at 11:47 p.m., my mother's name flashing on the screen. I let it ring 4 times, taking a moment to compose myself before answering. "Mom?" Sobbing erupts from the other end. "Deborah," her voice catches, thin and trembling. "Your sister's hurt. Please come." I close my eyes, the words I've said 1,000 times hovering on my tongue. I'll be right there. I'll fix it. I'll help. But something stops me. I remember scrolling through wedding photos I wasn't meant to see, the years spent cleaning up Nyla's messes, the money I'm still paying back. "I wasn't invited, Mom," I say quietly. "Showing up now would only make it worse." Silence stretches between us, so profound that I can hear her breathing hitch. "But she needs you," Cynthia finally whispers. "She always needed you." "No," I correct her gently. "She needed Travis. She needed security and status and a fairy tale wedding. What she needed from me was my absence." "That's not fair, Deborah." "I know." I swirl the wine in my glass, watching it catch the city lights. More silence. I can almost envision her face, the calculation behind her eyes, searching for the leverage that always worked before. The guilt, the family responsibility, the Deborah will fix it certainty. "I'm sorry about what happened," I add, my voice softening. Truly, no one deserves that, but this time I'm not the solution. The line goes dead without another word, and I stare at the phone, feeling something fundamental shift within me. For the first time in my life, I've refused to rush into a family crisis. The absence of panic surprises me, and I sleep better that night than I have in years. The next evening, Jenna arrives with takeout from that Thai place on 17th Street. We settle at my kitchen island, the news muted on the television across the room, occasionally flashing footage from the wedding disaster. "You holding up okay?" Jenna asks, twirling noodles around her fork. "Surprisingly well," I admit, though the neighbors keep giving me these sympathetic looks when I go out to get the mail. Mrs. Henderson even asked me if you needed anything when I was parking. I laugh. Of course she did. She brought me banana bread this morning, the universal language of crisis comfort. Jenna grins, but then her expression grows serious. "Your mom call yet?" "Last night, I didn't." Jenna's eyebrows shoot up. "Seriously? That's new." "Long overdue," I correct her. After dinner, Marcus texts to check in, another unusual development in my normally quiet life. My colleague has become a surprising source of perspective. He understands what it's like to be the family black sheep. "Saw more footage on the news. You okay?" he writes. "Better than expected," I reply. "Good. Some families only value you when they need something fixed. Trust me, I know." His words settle into me like a truth I've long avoided. I'm still pondering them when a knock sounds at my front door just after 9. Through the peephole, I see my father, soaked from the sudden downpour, standing on my porch without an umbrella. Water streams from his silver hair down his weathered face, making him look a decade older than the last time I saw him. "Deborah," he calls, his voice barely audible through the door. "Please, I need to talk to you." I lean my forehead against the cool wood, feeling the vibration of his knocking against my skin. "It's about the house," he adds, desperation cracking his voice. The mention of foreclosure makes my hand freeze on the door. Foreclosure? My parents have owned that Victorian home for 35 years. Part of me wants to pretend I'm not home, to let him stand in the rain and taste what abandonment feels like. But his slumped shoulders and rain-soaked appearance tug at something deep within me. With a sigh, I turn the lock and open the door. "You have 10 minutes, I tell him, "and this better not be about Nyla." He steps in, rainwater pooling at his feet, and shakes his head. "It's worse than that," he says, pulling a thick manila envelope from inside his jacket. "Much worse." As I close the door behind him, a chill runs through me that has nothing to do with the rain. While he dries off, I fill the electric kettle. Some conversations require hot beverages. My hands tremble slightly as I pull 2 mugs from the cabinet, bracing myself for whatever new family crisis he's brought to my doorstep. When he emerges, he looks smaller somehow, diminished. He clutches the manila envelope, wrinkled and damp at the edges. "We've been using your money for something else," he says, without preamble. The kettle whistles, and I pour hot water over tea bags, buying myself time to process his words. "What money?" I ask. "The monthly checks for the house?" 4 years ago, my parents claimed they were struggling with their mortgage, and since then, I've been sending $1,100 every month. "For the mortgage," I say slowly, "that's what you told me." "Not exactly," he replies, sliding the envelope across my dining table. "It was for a loan, a home equity line of credit." I open the envelope, spreading its contents across the polished wood. Bank statements, loan documents, notices of pending foreclosure proceedings. My eyes catch the loan amount, $195,000. "You took out a HELOC?" I state, incredulity rising within me. He nods, his gaze fixed on his hands. "For Nyla. After Eric left, the kids needed stability." I scan the paperwork, my blood turning cold as I spot the co-signers, Cynthia Alvarez and Nyla Alvarez. "Dad, Nyla hasn't lived in that house for years. How could she co-sign?" He stops, swallowing hard. "She told the bank Nyla was living with us." Understanding crashes down upon me. So the money I've been sending was going toward the HELOC payments, not the original mortgage. I grab a calculator from my desk drawer, punching in the numbers with trembling fingers. 4 years, 12 months, $1,100 each month. $82,000. My voice sounds distant, as if someone else is speaking. "You've taken $82,000 from me." "Deborah, where did the money go?" I demand, slapping my palm against the table. A mug jumps, spilling tea across the statements. Neither of us moves to clean it up. Nyla's debts, the legal fees after Eric left, the down payment on her house. Travis had requirements about where they would live. I laugh, a harsh sound that surprises even me. Travis, the man who hit her at their wedding, that's who got my money. Dad doesn't answer, which is answer enough. I stand, moving to my office with mechanical precision. I return with my phone and digital camera, ready to begin photographing every document. "What are you doing?" he asks, confusion etched on his face. "Documenting fraud," I reply, the camera shutter clicking with satisfying finality. "Bank fraud, specifically falsifying resident information on a loan application." "You can't," he protests. "I absolutely can," I assert, continuing to photograph, my hands steady now, "and I will. It would destroy your mother, Nyla's kids. Don't." I hold up one hand, cutting him off. "Don't you dare put this on me. I'm not the one who lied. I'm not the one who stole." His face crumbles, a mixture of regret and fear. "We never meant—" "Yes, you did," I interject, setting the camera down to meet his eyes directly. "You meant every bit of it. You just never expected to get caught." Just then, my phone buzzes, a text from Marcus, my colleague. "Bank contact info coming your way, my cousins and mortgage fraud investigations." "How much is left on the HELOC?" I ask, urgency creeping into my voice. "About 70,000, Dad replies, rubbing his face in despair. "The foreclosure notice came yesterday. They're calling the entire balance due." I resume photographing, capturing every signature, every false statement. Dad watches in silence, the magnitude of what they've done finally sinking in. "Why now?" I ask finally. "Why tell me after all this time?" "Your mother thought we could refinance, but no bank will touch us after the wedding fiasco hit the news." He hesitates. "And I couldn't live with it anymore. Not after you were excluded from the wedding. Not after everything." My phone rings, and I answer without checking the caller ID. Jenna's voice fills the line. "Heads up." The next day, I stand in the center of my living room, surveying my preparations with the meticulous eye I normally reserve for historic building inspections. The large oak dining table, a restoration project I salvaged from an 1882 farmhouse, dominates the space. Its surface tells a story of betrayal, laden with carefully arranged papers, photographs, and bank statements. A knock at the door announces Aunt Rose's arrival. I chose her carefully. Dad's sister, the only family member who never played favorites. "You look tired, mija," she says, stepping inside. Her silver-streaked hair frames her concerned eyes. "Not tired, ready," I reply, adjusting a stack of bank statements. "Thank you for being here." She squeezes my hand, her grip warm and reassuring. Family should tell the truth, not pretty lies. The doorbell rings again, and my stomach clenches as I check my watch. They're 15 minutes early, a power move. Classic Cynthia. "I'll make coffee," Rosa offers, retreating to the kitchen. I open the door to find them huddled on my porch. Mom's face wears a mask of injured dignity, while Dad studies his shoes, avoiding eye contact. Nyla stands slightly behind them, her arms wrapped protectively around her middle. "Come in," I say, my voice sounding foreign to my ears, steady, unmuffled. They file past me like solemn funeral attendees. No one speaks as they take their seats around my dining table. Nyla gasps quietly when she notices the papers. Dad's shoulders sag even further, and Mom's lips pinch into a bloodless line. Aunt Rosa brings in coffee that nobody touches. I remain standing, the silence stretching until Mom shifts in her chair. "What is all this drama for, Deborah? If you need help with your finances—" "Stop," I cut her off, the words slicing through her deflection. "For once in your life, just stop talking and listen." I slide a document toward her. "This is the home equity line of credit you took out 4 years ago. $195,000, with Nyla listed as co-signer, claiming she lived at the property." Dad's eyes close briefly. "This," I continue, pushing forward another document, "is the rental agreement I signed when I moved out 12 years ago." "The one that specifically forbids you from using my financial information or claiming I live there," I say, tapping a stack of bank statements. "These show the money transfers, $1,100 monthly from my account to yours, totaling $82,000 over 4 years. Nyla's face drains of color. "Mom, what is she talking about?" Nyla asks, confusion evident in her voice. I keep my gaze fixed on Cynthia. "Our mother told me the house needed repairs, a new roof, foundation work, that she and Dad were struggling to keep up with expenses and retirement. She asked for help. I agreed to send what I could each month." My fingers tremble slightly as I lay out the photographs. These are pictures from the bank lobby security camera. Mom depositing my checks directly into the HELOC payment account. Cynthia's chin lifts defiantly. "I only did what I had to do to keep a roof over the kids' heads." "You kept that roof with my money and my trust," I reply, fury pulsing behind my eyes, yet my voice remains level. "The same money I earned working 60-hour weeks while repaying Nyla's failed cafe loan." Nyla's mouth drops open. "Cafe loan? But you said that was a refinance." "Your sister co-signed for your business," Aunt Rosa interjects quietly. Dad finally speaks, his voice rough with shame. "Debbie, we never meant for it to go this far." "Don't," I raise my hand, cutting him off. "Intentions don't erase fraud." "Fraud?" Cynthia sputters, her indignation rising. "We're family," she insists. "Family doesn't steal from each other," I counter. "Family doesn't forge signatures on loan documents." Nyla stares at the papers, her hands shaking. "I didn't know, Deborah. Mom just said it was a refinance, that you approved everything. I believe her." Nyla was always the golden child, but never the mastermind. Cynthia sniffs, her composure faltering. "Well, what do you want? To send your parents to jail? To make your sister homeless with 2 children?" Dad's head snaps up, his tone sharp and startling. "That's enough, Cyn." The intensity in his voice catches us all off guard. In 40 years of marriage, I've never heard him speak to her that way. Debbie has every right to be furious, he continues, his weathered hands spreading flat on the table. If you want the house, we'll sign it over. The side lot can be sold to repay what we took. Cynthia falls silent, her hands twisting anxiously in her lap. I look at my father, really look at him, the proud carpenter who taught me the value of restoration, of finding worth in damaged things. His eyes reveal a mixture of shame and relief, as if the weight of secrets is finally lifting. I don't want your house, I say firmly. I just want this to end. Aunt Rosa takes a notebook from her purse. I've spoken with a friend at First American Title. We can do a quick claim deed for the side lot today. Transfer it directly to Deborah. We could sell it, Dad suggests. The Miller boy next door has been asking about it for years. I want to expand his garden. 2. Fine, my mother replies, her voice clipped. I don't need an apology, I tell them, surprised to find that it's true. I just need peace. The room falls quiet again, but the quality of silence has changed. No longer tense with unspoken accusations, but heavy with truth finally acknowledged. 2 weeks later, we meet at a title company downtown. The attorney explains the documents with professional detachment. Dad signs first, then Mom. The pen hovers in her hand for a moment before she scrawls her name. I don't make speeches about forgiveness. I don't hurl accusations. I simply sign where indicated and accept copies of the paperwork. As we stand to leave, Dad touches my arm. I'm sorry, Debbie. His voice catches, filled with unspoken regrets. I nod once, unable to find words that won't crack open my carefully maintained composure. Outside on the sidewalk, Nyla approaches hesitantly. I'll pay you back, she promises, her voice trembling. Every cent. Take care of your kids. Stand on your own feet. She nods, tears spilling down her cheeks. I will. I drive home alone, the windows down, autumn air whipping through the car like a refreshing embrace. My phone rings. Jenna, checking in. It's done, I tell her. How do you feel? I consider the question. The anger still burns, but it feels different now. No longer the hot flash of betrayal, but something controlled and useful. The kind of fire that forges rather than destroys. It's as if I finally stopped carrying other people's weight. 3 days later, a certified check arrives from the sale of the side lot. I study the numbers, calculating what it will and won't cover of what I've lost. Not everything, certainly not nearly enough. But as I fold the check into my wallet, I realize I've gained something far more valuable. The power of truth, the strength of boundaries, the freedom of no longer being responsible for everyone else's happiness. For the first time in 35 years, the only life I have to fix is my own. Morning light spills across my kitchen counter, in the gun barrel home I've restored over the past year. The 3-bedroom ranch house sits on a corner lot with a breathtaking view of the Flatirons. I trace my finger along the freshly sanded oak countertop, recalling the splinters that once made it dangerous to touch. My phone vibrates against the granite island. I glance down, expecting another message from Balance Forward about tomorrow's financial abuse workshop. Instead, Nyla's name lights up my screen. Thank you for letting me make things right. The kids miss you. I set down my coffee mug, feeling neither the sharp sting of anger nor the heavy weight of obligation that once accompanied her name, just a calm awareness. Through mutual friends, I've caught snippets of Nyla's new life. 3 jobs, no handouts, standing on her own feet for perhaps the first time since high school. Emma now walks herself to school, and Lucas has joined Little League without anyone forcing him. I type my response carefully. I'm free Saturday afternoon if you'd like to bring them by. Her reply comes instantly. Just me first. We need to talk. I add a condition without apology. 2 o'clock, I have plans at 4. The boundaries feel natural now, not selfish. Saturday arrives with a gentle rain that patters softly against the living room windows. When Nyla's compact sedan pulls into the driveway, I notice the missing hubcap and the small dent in the passenger door. No more luxury cars purchased with other people's credit. She stands on my porch, clutching a small wooden box, her knuckles white with tension. Rain droplets cling to her hair, which hangs straight and uncolored for the first time since she was 12. "You look different," I say, stepping aside to let her in. "3 jobs will do that," she replies, attempting a smile, though her voice lacks the practiced charm she once wielded like a weapon. I lead her to the kitchen, where 2 mugs of tea steam invitingly on the island. No wine, no illusions of false intimacy. "This is for you," she says, placing the wooden box between us. Dad found it when they were clearing out the Victorian. I lift the hinged lid. Inside rests our grandfather's pocket watch, its gold case tarnished with age. The one meaningful heirloom neither of us received when he died. The one thing I'd always wanted. "How did you know?" I ask, lifting it carefully. "You mentioned it once when we were teenagers," she replies, watching as I wind it gently. The mechanism clicks, then begins to tick with surprising strength for something so long forgotten. "Maybe time doesn't erase mistakes," I say thoughtfully, "but it teaches you when to stop repeating them." We sit in silence as rain taps against the windows, not uncomfortable, not forced, just 2 adults acknowledging truths that have been buried for too long. "What did you do with the money from the land sale?" she finally asks, her gaze steady. I meet her eyes directly. "I didn't keep it. Mom said I should open accounts for Emma and Lucas, college funds." Her eyes widen in surprise. "After everything we did?" "After I'm done rescuing adults," I say, feeling the rightness of those words. "But kids, they still deserve a chance." When she leaves an hour later, we don't hug, we don't make promises about holiday gatherings or shared vacations, but something has shifted, like a bone finally set properly after years of painful misalignment. That evening, I sit alone on my porch swing, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. My journal rests open on my lap, today's entry simple but complete. The softest revenge is peace and quiet. No bitterness curls through my chest as I write these words, no burning need to make things even, just a calm certainty that I've found my way back to myself. In that stillness, I finally feel